Is it possible that an album not even 3 years old could survive for hundreds of weeks on the harshest, most ruthless, and most selective stage in the history of the global music industry? And is it possible that this achievement is so absurd that even a figure like Chris Martin, who has filled world stadiums for decades, never imagined something like this could happen? This question is not mere sensationalism nor empty dramatization, but a gateway into a phenomenon that now forces the global music industry to pause, stare at the numbers, and ask in a restrained voice, what has Jungkook actually just done? It is at this point that the phrase 524 weeks ceases to be a simple statistic. It transforms into a symbol. It becomes an anomaly. It stands as a number that refuses to submit to the old logic of the Western music industry, which for decades believed that success comes with an expiration date. Billboard, with all its historical authority as the barometer of global musical supremacy, was never designed to accommodate a phenomenon like this. Its primary charts, Billboard Global Excl. US Billboard Hot 100, Billboard 200, and Global 200, have long been brutal arenas, places where songs arrive, peak, and fall, often before the world even has time to remember them. Yet amid this fast and unforgiving cycle, one name persists, refusing to disappear, refusing to drop, refusing to be forgotten: Jungkook. His debut solo album, Golden, released in November 2023, is now reported to have accumulated a total of 524 cumulative weeks across Billboard's major charts. This figure is not the result of a single isolated entry, nor a fleeting anomaly, but a long-term accumulation of presence, consistent, almost obsessive, across multiple global chart categories. This is where the first real shock emerges. The album does not merely survive. It continues to live. It continues to breathe. It continues to find ways to remain relevant amid the relentless flood of new releases each week, as if time itself were conspiring in its favor. For the Western music industry, a number like 524 weeks is usually associated with legendary catalogs that have lived across generations, not with a debut solo album by an Asian artist. Yet here again, history rewrites itself. According to reports from fan communities and music media, this milestone positions Golden as the first solo album by an Asian artist to surpass the psychological threshold of 500 weeks on Billboard's major charts, an achievement that is not only massive, but deeply disruptive to long-standing assumptions about who is allowed to dominate the global narrative. Behind these numbers lies an even more unsettling detail. Golden is not an album rescued by a single viral track that happened to have extraordinary longevity. It is supported by an entire musical ecosystem that continues to function, from the album's overall performance to singles like 7, which refuses to leave the global radar. That song featuring Latto has established itself as one of the most persistent tracks in the history of the modern digital chart era, remaining on the Spotify Global Chart for more than 132 weeks and breaking records as the longest-charting solo song by an Asian artist in that space. This is no longer about trends. This is about structural endurance. According to the latest Billboard data, Jungkook has even recorded between 129 and 131 consecutive weeks on global charts across various entries. The word consecutive here is not a trivial detail. In the world of charting, longevity is far more valuable than a high debut. Many songs can enter the top 10, very few can endure, and almost none can do so repeatedly across charts, across formats, across markets. The world's reaction to this achievement did not initially come from official institutions, but from the same force that has long been the pulse of the BTS phenomenon, the fans. On Platform X, posts from accounts such as @GyeongGoldenLight and at @FormaGoldenStar function like digital church bells, awakening millions of eyes. Their words did not read like data reports, but like emotionally charged declarations steeped in historical awareness, as if the fans themselves understood they were witnessing something that would be discussed for years to come. Jungkook's first solo debut album, Golden, is making history. One post read, asserting that 524 weeks was not merely an achievement, but an event. Yet beneath that euphoria emerged a far deeper and more uncomfortable question for parts of the industry. If this album continues to endure, if this number keeps increasing, then what exactly is happening to the global balance of musical power? Is this simply about popularity, or are we witnessing a slow but undeniable shift in the center of cultural gravity? To understand why that question matters, we must revisit how Golden began its journey. The album debuted immediately at number 2 on the Billboard 200, with first-week sales exceeding 210,000 units. That figure alone was enough to place Jungkook among the elite tier of global artists. What makes this story different, however, is what happened afterward. Rather than declining according to the usual pattern, the album built a long life of its own. It found new listeners beyond the core fandom, penetrated markets previously resistant to the K-pop label, and gradually blurred the boundaries between Western pop and Korean pop. It is here that the name Chris Martin becomes relevant, even if it does not appear directly in the statistics. As the frontman of Coldplay, a band known over the past 2 decades as a symbol of cross-generational, cross-cultural music, Chris Martin is often seen as the embodiment of borderless global sound. Coldplay once stood on the same stage as BTS, performing My Universe, as a symbol of ideal cultural convergence. What is happening now, however, seems to move beyond that symbolism. The figure of 524 weeks gives rise to an unspoken yet palpable speculation that a new generation of global artists no longer requires Western gatekeeping to sustain long-term dominance at the industry's center. The irony is that all of this is unfolding while Jungkook himself is serving mandatory military duty, a situation typically associated with career pauses and diminished exposure. Yet instead of fading, the charts remain alive. The songs continue to be played. The albums continue to be purchased. The charts continue to record his name. It is as if his presence has transcended the physical, transforming into a cultural entity that moves on its own. At this point, 524 weeks can no longer be understood as the result of promotion or fandom power alone. It becomes a case study. It becomes a living academic text, challenging long-standing theories about the commercial lifespan of pop music, about the dominance of the English language, about centers and peripheries in the global cultural industry. And as that number continues to rise, one question hangs increasingly heavy in the air. If this is only the beginning, just how far will Jungkook and Asian music ultimately go? If 524 weeks were merely a number, the music world would not be reacting this way. Yet in reality, there has been no other figure in recent years that has felt so deeply disruptive to the old order of the industry as the growing chain of weeks attached to the name Jungkook. For decades, the global music industry has been built on assumptions that were rarely questioned. That the center of pop's gravity lies in the West, that English is the primary passport to chart immortality, and that non-Western artists, no matter how popular, would eventually face an invisible ceiling. What the album Golden has done appears to tear those assumptions apart from within, slowly but consistently, in a way even more dangerous than open rebellion, because it does so through data. Within Billboard's ecosystem, surviving more than a few dozen weeks is already considered a major achievement. Charts are not designed to show mercy. Streaming algorithms, radio rotation, and global market tastes move faster than ever. Songs that go viral today can vanish without a trace tomorrow. Yet Golden does not move according to that cycle. It behaves like an entity with its own laws of time, appearing on multiple charts simultaneously, shifting from one format to another, as if constantly finding new ways to remain relevant to different listeners. This is where simple observation turns into structural analysis. This is not luck, it is a pattern. Billboard Global Excl. US, for instance, is often seen as a more honest indicator of cross-cultural strength because it removes the dominance of the American market. There, Golden demonstrates the same unyielding endurance. Billboard Hot 100 and Billboard 200, two charts long regarded as the highest symbols of validation within the American music industry, also bear Jungkook's extended imprint. The Global 200 reinforces one increasingly undeniable fact. Jungkook's music does not live in a single market, but in multiple centers at once. For some Western observers, this creates a distinct unease. Not because of the music's quality, which is rarely disputed, but because of the implications. If a debut solo album by an Asian artist can accumulate more than 500 cumulative weeks on Billboard's major charts within just a few years, then what does that say about the old exclusivity of those charts? Is Billboard still a mechanism that filters global taste, or has it now become a mirror force to reflect a new reality it can no longer control? It is at this point that the name Chris Martin reappears, not as a direct competitor but as a symbol of an era. As the frontman of Coldplay, he represents a generation of Western artists who shaped the definition of global music in the early 21st century. Coldplay is a band that successfully crossed linguistic, cultural, and market boundaries, selling millions of albums and filling stadiums on nearly every continent. When Chris Martin spoke of music as a universal language, many dismissed it as idealistic. Yet what is unfolding now feels like a concrete manifestation of that idea, only with a different face. The BTS Coldplay collaboration My Universe was once viewed as a symbol of two worlds meeting in the middle. At the time, the narrative was clear: West and Asia converging on equal ground. But the numbers surrounding Jungkook today subtly yet sharply alter that perspective. The question shifts: is this still about an equal meeting, or are we witnessing a relay baton quietly changing hands? What makes this moment even more complex is the fact that Jungkook does not position himself as an anti-Western icon or a symbol of resistance. On the contrary, the music on Golden sounds deeply familiar to global ears. It does not reject Western pop aesthetics. It masters them, plays them with precision, and then injects its own identity into them. This is the most effective form of cultural penetration, not confrontation but intelligent assimilation. The song 7, for example, does not rely on exoticism. It stands firmly as a global pop song, with structure, production, and appeal capable of competing with any top-tier release. Yet precisely because of this, its success becomes so significant. When the song remained on the Spotify Global Chart for more than 132 weeks, breaking records as the longest-charting solo track by an Asian artist, it delivered an unmistakable message. Global audiences no longer choose based on origin, but on resonance. Fan reactions on Platform X represent only one layer of a much larger echo. Beneath the celebration, quieter but sharper discussions are unfolding within industry circles, among cultural academics and music market analysts. They are beginning to ask what sustainability truly means in the streaming era, how global fandoms now function not merely as loyalty bases, but as efficient and durable cultural distribution networks. In this context, ARMY can no longer be reduced to a group of fanatical supporters. They are cultural actors. Still, it would be overly simplistic to attribute all of this solely to fandom. Data showing between 129 and 131 consecutive weeks on global charts across various Jungkook entries points to something broader. It indicates that his music continues to be discovered by new listeners beyond the core fan circle. This is the most unsettling indicator for the old industry, because it means control over public taste is becoming increasingly decentralized. More ironically still, all of this is happening while Jungkook is physically absent from the industry due to mandatory military service. In older narratives, this should have marked a decline. Yet the charts tell the opposite story. The album remains alive. The songs endure. The charts continue to record his name. It is as if Jungkook has surpassed the need for constant presence, entering a phase where the work itself operates independently within the global ecosystem. Here lies the most disruptive revelation of all: that permanence in modern music no longer depends entirely on continuous promotion or media visibility. It depends on long-term resonance. And Golden, with all its statistics, appears to meet that condition in a way that borders on disrespect for the industry's old theories. If Chris Martin and his generation once laid the foundation for global music as a borderless space, then what Jungkook is doing today is constructing a new structure upon that foundation, one that no longer recognizes a single center. The music world is slowly but unmistakably moving toward a polyphony of power. And amid that shift, one name continues to appear on the charts week after week, like an inescapable reminder: Jungkook. What are the long-term consequences? How will the industry respond if these numbers continue to grow? And are we standing at the beginning of a new chapter in global music history, or already in its middle without realizing it? These questions are no longer hypothetical. They are waiting for answers that may prove even more surprising than the 524 weeks themselves. Music history is rarely written in a single moment. It is formed through accumulation, through repetition, through a slow yet unstoppable continuity. What makes Golden different is not only its duration on the charts, but its context. This album exists in an era of algorithmic fatigue, when listeners are flooded with new music every day, when attention has become the rarest currency. And yet it is precisely in such an era that Golden endures, as if refusing the laws of speed long assumed to be inevitable. For Jungkook, this achievement places him at a uniquely rare crossroads. He is no longer merely a member of a phenomenal group, nor simply a successful soloist. He has become a case study in how an Asian artist can build long-term presence at the center of the Western industry without losing identity. This is a position that once could be occupied by only a handful of global names that previous generations considered untouchable. The name Chris Martin becomes relevant again at this point, not as a numerical comparison but as a historical shadow. Coldplay is known not for a single song, but for consistency across eras. And it is there that a similarity, spoken of now in half-whispers by many observers, begins to surface. If Coldplay symbolizes music that endures through shifting times, then Golden is increasingly seen as the seed of something similar, yet born from a completely different cultural context. For ARMY, this achievement is not only a source of pride, but a validation of their long-held belief that BTS's music and its members would outlast trend cycles. But for the world beyond the fandom, this is an invitation, or perhaps a challenge, to reevaluate the definition of a global icon. Is an icon still determined by a particular market, or by the ability to endure and resonate across borders over long periods of time? One thing is now clear: 524 weeks is not a finish line. It is a marker in the middle of a journey that is still in motion. While Jungkook fulfills his mandatory military service, the charts continue to live. As the world shifts toward new trends, his songs keep playing. As the industry searches for the next face, one name is already embedded too deeply to be erased so easily. Because if 524 weeks alone have already silenced the industry, who would dare to say that this story will not go far beyond anything we have ever imagined before?